My name is Dr. John Tyus. I'm the founder of the ID movement. Welcome to live stream moments with the emerging leaders. I have a very special person here with me today, Mr. Jonathan Moody. He's the president and the CEO of Moody Nolan. If you don't know him, get to know him. You also can get to know him as well in this new book that we just dropped, which is the ID Movement Presents Voices of the Sons, Letters from the Emerging Leaders, Columbus edition. Mr. Moody's a part of this book. You see, he got his book. Make sure you guys get y'all's. Link should be in the bio. And we did a book years ago called Voices of the Fathers, about 2 years ago. And we had fathers from all walks of life come and share their hearts and write letters to the millennial leader. So now what we're doing is having the sons have the opportunity to write letters to our generation and the generation that's coming up after us. So I'm so excited. I hope you enjoy it. Please hit like and share so we can get this out to the community as much as possible. Mr. Moody, how are you?
I'm good. It's so good to be here, and thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you're very busy running a major firm, a major architectural firm. So could you tell me and the people that are listening about that? How does that work? What's that about? How is that? How is that?
It's interesting because I think we talked even in the past about what some of the challenges and struggles people have been enduring, and
Mhm.
how to even prepare, and all that sorts of stuff. And the last year and a half there's been a lot of reflection on honesty and transparency,
Mhm.
and just kind of using the tools that you've got. It was interesting as last year started, being the first year as CEO. I've stuck with the consistent conversation with our staff and others of, just tell them what we know, what we don't know, saying, hey, I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic about certain things, but these things we can do and these things we can't do, these tools we have and these we don't. And it's been a consistent, it was interesting when I heard the message that really resonated with me and connected with me about David,
Mhm.
and David being completely unprepared for what he was going into as a leader, but he just used the tools he had. Right? Says, hey, I don't know if this is going to solve everything, but I got a rock and a slingshot. Right? So that's kind of been how I've been thinking about it and approaching it. Like just not trying to solve everything, but just saying, hey, let me use what I've got,
Mhm.
and we'll take it one day at a time. So
Yeah.
but here we are. So
No, man, I think that's a phenomenal message and important for us to know. Actually, a lot of your letter speaks a lot about that you're enough. I really got the feeling that you were explaining to the people to understand that they are enough, that they have what they need, they have great potential within them, and not to rush the process, but to be in the moment. That's really what I
mm.
got from you a lot. Tell us, why were you so focused on that area in your letter? You was talking about be in the moment, learn from you learn from the people that have walked before you, but don't try to rush the process.
No, absolutely. So part of and again, this honesty and my struggle, and struggle is the right word,
Mhm.
is not knowing. I stand on the shoulders of all the people who come before me, and I'm only here because of the people who came before me, and they sacrificed and went through so much for me to even have a seat in the platform that I do.
Mhm.
So honestly, I often reflect on like trying to like, oh, what do I need to do to make them proud? What do I need to do to carry the torch?
Yeah.
And you start to push yourself into these situations of, call it imposter syndrome, where
Mhm.
you're saying, hey, am I only here because of this, or am I only here because of that? And constantly, needing to reassure yourself, that the truth is, if you believe that things happen for a reason, if you're in the moment that you're in, you're there for a reason, and you have everything you need to be successful in that moment. So, I think part of what my generation and future generations are going to have chances at, are tables, doors of opportunities that previous generations didn't have. And instead of kind of shying away or feeling like you don't deserve it or it doesn't belong to you, say, hey, you're there for a reason. you have what you need, right? Like you have to use what you've got. Frankly, most of the challenges that's what's been missing in these conversations or in these tables or in these forums is they don't have your opinion, they don't have your expression, they don't have your perspective
Hmm.
on one like a popular conversation right now is different generational ideas in leadership.
Hmm.
You can't get intergenerational ideas in leadership if younger generations or other generations don't contribute the perspective of their generation. So it's kind of like a, look, don't feel like you don't belong. Know that you do. And you don't need much to know that you do other than just believing that if you are where you are, you're there for a reason.
Yeah,
So,
I love that, man. I think that's very important, and that's honestly one of the reasons why God laid on my heart to even create the ID movement. Just connecting to fathers and allowing fathers to connect with sons, mentorship, and generations being connected, and finding ways of connection and passing things on. I think that's very important for generations to understand that they do bring something to the table. Even our generation or generations following us to understand that their voice is very important. I believe it was Mr. Jones, Gary Jones said a couple of weeks ago, you can't have a voice without first being an echo. I thought that was
mm,
super
mm,
powerful, right? So,
mm,
and you mentioned something very similar, was talking about the importance of mentorship, carrying
mm.
on what people's passed on to you. So, what were some of the stuff that was passed down to you that you carry today?
It's the, so first and foremost, I have to absolutely start with sorry. There's something simple but unique about my father, and simple in that oftentimes there's kind of a feeling or pressure that if you're a mentor or if you're being mentored that you have to check all these lists and do all these things and make sure you say this or make sure you do that. And sometimes like just some of it is just translating what's been given. Like one of the things my dad talks a lot about were his mentors and the simplicity of a message from like a Lewis Smoot Sr. who would tell my dad that the concern about like I need to do this, I need to do that. No, the most important thing you need to do is be successful, right?
Mhm.
And so what he did for me was saying not necessarily, I mean, there were so many things that we can go through, but I think the most important thing was just being an example to follow. And
Mhm.
for me to be in a position where I could see him be successful, that imposter syndrome that we struggle with of, is it possible for me to do this? Can I do that? If you can see that, if you can't be what you can't see, if you can see that example, like wow, that begins to be such a huge first hurdle to get over. The
Mhm.
other thing too is I was very fortunate to have my father as a mentor, but there are also so many strong men and strong leaders, strong people who have helped me along the way. I mean, even the previous book of the fathers, hearing from Bishop Tillman every Sunday, and
Mhm.
his message that he brings and
Mhm.
how he teaches and preaches through it. But
Mhm.
I also remember even, gosh, back in middle school, right? And this is kind of one of those like, you don't even know sometimes the impact that you have on people's lives.
Mhm.
But Bishop Clark coming to Clinton Middle School,
Yeah.
right? Having and in a very like, he's in a public school setting, so he can't,
Mhm.
preach per se,
Right. Right.
but he can preach. And
Yeah.
I remember vividly him telling us as a middle school student,
Wow.
don't settle for mediocrity,
Mm.
right? And that was, and how Bishop Clark can do it, like,
Yes.
but in his words, it's like that was my first time learning the word what mediocre means,
Yeah.
what mediocrity was,
Yeah.
and that I can't settle for my life being mediocre. And it
Yeah.
was like a wow, So you talk about a coach, you talk about, you talk about someone who just comes for a career fair, you just talk about teachers, you talk about aunts and uncles and those people who you don't even know it, but
Mhm.
just by being a good person and living a good life, you're showing how to mentor and how to provide for that next generation.
Mhm.
And again, you're providing that like, well, if they can do it, why can't I? Right? Like
Right.
it's a powerful thing. Yeah.
Wow, that is powerful. Yeah, I mean, these guys that were in this book before, they were like superheroes to me, and
Mm.
you know, people that I never felt like I could ever and I ever would touch in any
mm,
capacity. So it was a blessing to get insight from a Kurt Moody and from a Howard Tillman and
mm,
from a Lafayette Scales, you know,
mm.
and having these people or a Charles Booth that his last writing was in that book before he passed,
Wow.
you know,
Wow.
and that was a piece of why we were doing it was because I saw people retiring, some
Mm,
people passing away, and I thought it was very important to capture the stories, capture the heart, capture the wisdom and insight from these people that walked before us before they left with all that in them, right?
mm,
And Dr. Booth was an example of that. And so I understand seeing them and allowing them to play a very important piece of our life, a puzzle.
mm.
They were all like pieces of puzzles, you know,
Yeah.
um, to make up who we really are.
No, absolutely. I mean, and it's, there's so much that goes into the making of a person, right? But I'm in a position now where I'm reflecting on all of those people in my life,
Mhm.
right? And that's kind of what instills a little bit of the responsibility that
Yeah.
says, I didn't know I didn't just get here because of me, but it's like I
Mhm.
gotta, and I don't want to be in a position where I find myself alone in some
Mhm.
places and rooms because I didn't help anybody else get in the room with me as well.
Wow. I think that's crazy because I think a lot of people do that because they don't want to be outshined,
Mm,
and some insecurities, and imposter syndrome still as an adult, clearly, right? So
mm.
it's great to be so secure in you and so secure in your mission and purpose that you don't mind bringing other people along. That's huge.
Well,
Yeah.
but it's needed,
Yeah.
right? It's needed. It's like I'm here because of them, and so that there's the logical next step, which it says, well, who else can you help, right?
Mm,
If all those people helped you.
mm. Wow.
Mm,
Okay. Well, so tell me about Moody Nolan.
mm.
People need to know. See, some everybody does not know who Moody Nolan is or what Moody Nolan is, but I do, and I think they need to know. So the
Okay.
younger generation that may watch this on the replay or whatever, what is Moody Nolan?
Okay, so we're a full service architectural design firm. So
Mhm.
we design buildings. We consult and we work with engineers, but we and my brother is an engineer, and there's a separate engineering company. We can talk about that. But Moody Engineering, my brother runs that company. But my father started the company about 40 years ago, 39 years ago,
Mhm.
and we've kind of slowly but surely grown. Our first project was Living Faith Apostolic Church that he'd worked on, and basically, we have grown through partnerships and collaborations, and frankly, people taking chances and over delivering on those people who took risks on us. I think some big important milestones for us as a company would be um, when my father, who had played basketball at Ohio State,
Mhm.
when we pursued the basketball arena at Ohio State, and we won, as the lead designer, the lead architect on it. That was a big step for us. When we made the jump of, say, starting a Nashville office, or when we moved to Chicago, and then we're fortunate to win and complete Malcolm X Community College, which is the largest project ever done by any minority firm in the city of Chicago.
Wow.
Or even this year, we'll complete, as part of the team that's executing the Jacob Javits Center expansion in New York, or the Boston Omni Hotel. But over the years, we've been fortunate, expanding on those opportunities and expanding on the scales of projects and learning along the way. We've grown. We're the largest African American owned architecture firm in the U.S. We're a part of AIA's large firm roundtable, which is a group of largest firms. And the thing that was a shock, but still, an honest recognition of, call it what I'll call that usness of all those people who have sewed into us over the years. Is We were fortunate this past year and this year to be named the AIA National Firm of the Year. So we are the first ever African American owned firm, first ever Ohio based firm to win that award. I mean, I'm still kind of processing it. I'll probably be processing it for the rest of my career to get the highest honor from the profession. Is this firm here in Columbus that my father started, recognizing the history of our work. We're the 58th firm, and when the AIA's lawyer reached out to say we have a tablet in the DC headquarters of the profession, we have to engrave Moody Nolan on that tablet. I am still like, wow. But I still think the usness of it is a reflection of it's not an individual award. It's not attributed to even me or my father or our partners, but it's all the things, all the living faith apostolics, the Columbus Public Libraries, Columbus Metropolitan Library, Columbus City Schools, Cleveland Schools. It's those projects that they're saying, hey, even this firm from Ohio exemplifies, all the things that we know are great about our community. There's a recognition from the profession, from our peers, that our community is doing, is the highest in the profession, and that is kind of like I had said to our staff that this is absolutely for us,
Yeah.
and all of us know what that means in terms of it's not me, it's not we, it's an us conversation. It's an honor for all of us to celebrate.
That's huge, man. We need people like you. We need people like your father. We need companies like Moody Nolan. Gives us hope to continue, man. So thank you for all your hard work and everything
No.
you've done, man. That must be a lot of pressure, though. That has to be
Oh,
a lot of pressure,
I
right?
mean, it can be right, but at the
Mhm.
same time, that's also a part of who we are, right? Like there's like and that's a part of the what are you know pressure can be called an obstacle or a challenge, or pressure can be an opportunity, right?
Mhm.
That says, hey, because of the pressure that comes along with these accolades, we'll now, and all of us,
Mhm.
like meaning, and that's kind of what I think future leaders are going to be dealing with in a
Mhm.
good way. You'll get audiences, you'll get chances that people have never had before. So
Yeah.
there's a pressure and a responsibility to say we have to push even further. Like,
Yeah.
why not even more? Like, why not? And why can't we kind of take things to the next level? Because I think we all know deep down we're capable of doing great things. We
Yeah.
just always haven't always had the chances. So now it's kind of you're going to get those chances.
Mhm.
So now it's take it and run with it, and it goes back to that imposter syndrome thing, right? There's like, oh man, there's a pressure of the moment, but it's like, no, you have everything you need to be successful,
Yeah.
right? Like you're if there's pressure or if there's something that comes along, it's happened for a reason. And you say,
Mhm.
oh, but I don't have this and I don't have this, but you do have everything you need to be in that moment. Like,
Yeah, and pressure is important because things
mm,
are birthed out of pressure. You never know where you truly are without the pressure. And pressure, I always say to people, fire never comes to kill you. It comes to expose you. It
mm,
comes to show you who you truly are and where you are in that moment. And honestly, without fiery moments, we would never know what's inside of us, right?
mm,
And that's what that pressure does. It proves to you that you are greater actually than what you thought you were. So
mm,
yeah, I love that. What you said. You said something in this book, and I gotta let the people know. You said, where is this at? I don't want to miss it. You said to offer things from a distant past or future that doesn't exist yet denies the value of what you can presently bring.
mm.
That's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. Well, I still summarize it as we all know, like the call it the phrase of like, don't worry about the past, or you have to let the past go. But it's also equally a mistake to try to be somebody you're not yet.
Mm. We don't
You're
talk
not
about
that
that piece.
you're not that person either, right? You are who you are today, and you're where you're supposed to be. And if you try to bring things pretending to be somebody you're not yet, and
Mm,
also not letting go of who you were, you lose the value of who you are in that moment.
bro, that's huge. We don't talk about that. We
Mm,
all and we always talk about letting go of the past is not who, but you're not who you are in the future yet either. Wow. That
Yeah.
is so impactful
Mm.
because we try to move maybe too soon. We maybe try to do stuff that we're not yet ready for. And we actually ruin sometimes possible relationships because of out of its season, in a sense, operating
Yeah.
outside our season.
Yeah. Just, I mean, just be who you are, right? Like, I
Be
mean, and that is hard. I accept that. That's hard.
me too.
But it's like, you got to trust it,
Yeah.
right? That is a, call it a faithful trust of like, hey, I got to be who I am. And I got to trust that that's enough.
Yeah, because if you really truly are who you are, you can bring your best or put your best foot forward in a sense, or bring your best because that is who you truly are. It's overwork when you try to be somebody that you're not, and I think that is what the world glamorizes so much and puts certain pressures on people to try to be something that they're not. Like
Mhm.
destination addiction is what I like to call it. Always thinking
Mhm.
that the best thing is in the next thing and never appreciating the now thing, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
it's crazy. So
Yeah.
you bringing it out, Mr. Moody. You bringing it out, sir. That's what's
Yes.
up. Yeah. So who? How would you tell, or what would you tell to somebody rather that is striving to get in architecture? Because me,
Um.
I'm gonna tell you me. I wanted to be an architect
Mm.
because I love to draw and I love to design, but I hated math. So I just threw it away and I just focused on ministry and community work and all this other stuff.
Well, so what I would say to somebody who might be interested in architecture is we're at a critical time in the profession. There's if you look ahead at where population growth is headed,
Mhm.
um, and the current population of architects, there's not enough architects to do the work that's needed, and we're at a time that the profession is having to ask ourselves a question of do we are we going to allow ourselves to become irrelevant?
Mm,
Basically, by not intentionally building our workforce. Um, so we are at a point where and along those lines, the profession is changing, in terms of what an architect is and what an architect does. There's such a diversity of even the types of things that architects do, whether it be, say, someone who just says, I love organizing communities and I love listening, to people who say I can gather ideas from people about what they want to see in a building or in a place. And down there are those people who,
mm,
I mean, they get down into the nitty gritty of I'll say the more granular science of how a building gets put together.
yeah.
There's everything in between. There's even a legal aspect of what happens when when a building goes wrong or when something goes
Mm,
wrong.
yeah.
That there's a liability and insurance aspect of the profession. So we need to grow as a profession. We need all sorts of people from all sorts of places. Um, so I think you should, if you're interested in architecture, you should reach out to any architect you can find, or reach out to an architecture school. People might not even know this, but there's a civil engineering architecture course at like West High School. There's like an associate program at Columbus State. And there's a great, I'm talking to Columbus audience, but architecture program at Ohio State. Reach out and ask, or I think it's got to be, you got to reach out to make the connections, or just say, hey, when you're starting to check those boxes of I'm interested in the profession,
Hmm.
maybe I'd be interested in majoring in architecture.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'll tell you, and Mr. Fast from Northland High School would appreciate this. I took calculus in high school at Northland, but there is a misconception about the math to be an architect. I
Uh,
never took a college math course. There was one requirement for a calculus course,
hmm.
to major in architecture.
Yeah.
I Mr. Fast was great at Northland, and I got a good score on the AP test in high school. I never took math in college.
What?
Yeah.
So I missed my opportunity.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That is great, man. Well, I appreciate you joining us. I know you got to get back. You are very busy. So
No, thanks for
the
having me.
last
Yeah.
thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw um, words at you. I want you to tell me the first thing that just comes to mind, and then we
Okay.
do that. I know you didn't tell me about that, John, but architecture.
Oh, community and values, right?
Mm.
Do you want me to throw back words or just whatever the first?
You can throw back whatever you like at it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you want to expand,
Yeah.
you can, but if you just want to give what it is, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Moody.
uh, I don't know.
I know, right?
I'm thinking of like kind of an emotional, like funny thing. I don't know. That's what
Yeah,
comes to mind. So,
okay. Jonathan Moody.
oh, I don't know. I'm just happy to be available and present.
Columbus, Ohio.
Oh man, so much potential, but we need to focus on the future of our city.
Mm. Okay. Millennials.
um, now is the time, right? Like we need, it's the time to jump in both feet to anything.
Wow. Wow. Mentorship.
Oh, responsibility both ways. Um, we
Both
all need it.
both ways. Wow. Legacy.
Mm, um, that's an honor to
Mm.
be a part of it, right?
Mm. Well, there it is, y'all. There it is, Mister the Great, the Honorable, and he's gonna laugh. I've realized that now. He's just gonna laugh because he's like, "Come on, man!" But Mister Jonathan Moody, we are so grateful to have you, man. Thank you. Hey, y'all, make sure y'all go pick up the book, Voices of the Sons. Letters from the Emerging Leaders. We have a lot of people. We're going to be doing a live series probably every week for the next month and a half with contributors of this book. Um, I'm so excited that my brothers jumped in and wanted to be a part of it. We have some stuff coming down the pipeline as well that I want you all to see and be a part of. The ID movement is going to do some great stuff at the end of this year, 2021. So stay tuned. Mr. Moody, thank you so much. Any last words you have for the people? Or any,
No, just
because I'm gonna show this to people I know for sure.
oh, okay. No, just thank you and good luck to everyone.
Wow. Well, thank you all so much, and we'll see you next week. Mr. Moody, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.